On the cutting edge of anomaly research, you are about to experience The Evidence with your host, 3D pioneer and image analyst with Mars X3D, E.W. Gannett.
Well, hi there. Why not step out of your ordinary life for a few minutes and join me here in the lodge, a strange but peaceful place. You know, we've been having a lot of fun with our live hangs every Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, or GMT -5 for you theoretical physicists out there who are really, really good with numbers. Also, we have our Marvin Moments, now 2 episodes with Neil Spence and Neville Thompson. Both of these guys are imaging wizards and are amazing and fascinating people. And if you haven't seen those episodes, you may want to take a little time to get used to them. There's something else. You know, we have a lot to look at today, more so than we usually do. So why not just get into it? I want to remind you that if you're part of the Anomaly treasure hunt, be sure to check out the links below. I usually just focus on a couple anomalies in any given image, but trust me, there are many, many more Easter eggs to discover in just about every image. Anyway, Nev strikes pay dirt once again in this beautiful GMAC of 712. It doesn't really pop out at this distance, but we're going after the chunk of something inside that green target. When I first took a close look at this, that spiral on the upper right caught my attention, and I thought it might be a fossilized crinoid. Crinoids started showing up in our own oceans in the Middle Cambrian area and just about took over the whole ocean floor during the Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras. We find them all over the place in fossil beds here on Earth, and it kind of makes sense that since Mars was an ocean planet, they might be there as well. But then I started to change my mind. Look at that side facing you in the shadow. There's a clearly rectangular shape outlined in white, and on the right of that, 2 tubes poke out of the corner, one above the other. There are more tubes to the right of that and other less defined shapes on the far corner. I'm starting to think this might be some kind of mechanism, although we can't really know for sure. Here's what I think might be a crinoid that I found a couple years back. That's pretty easy to see, isn't it? And all those other bumps and pieces scattered around it could possibly be fossils as well. Let me show you an earthly fossil of a crinoid. That looks pretty similar, doesn't it? Here's another strange item from 712. You can see from the context view that it's quite large and has probably tumbled down from the cliffs behind it. Let's take a closer look. This is interesting to me because you have those 3 arches right in front, each one smaller than the next, and where the 4th arch should be, there's what looks like a small wheel with a hub. Then there are those 2 rectangular blocks at the left corner. They seem just a bit too regular to be random chunks of stone, but I suppose they could be. The rest of the platform block looks badly damaged, so I can't help wondering if the arches weren't in a really protected place during the cataclysm. Maybe this is a footing and they were underground. As badly broken up as the rest of the block is, it seems kind of strange that this end piece should be so well preserved. It's just another one of those strange things about Mars. This is a fresh rendering of something I found years ago. It looks a lot like a snake's head, which is why I called it quasi-quetzal, after that feathered serpent god of the Aztecs and Maya. Even from here you can see this is a massive chunk of rock. There weren't any metrics available that I could find, but I think it's pretty conservative to say it's 5 to 6 feet across in the front. I couldn't help wondering if maybe I was being a bit too enthusiastic to call this a snake's head the first time around. But then as I take a second look at it, especially in 3D, I found it to be a stretch of the imagination to discount that perfectly round eye. Just how does something like that form naturally? And then to have the mouth and what could arguably be nostrils in the right proportions and in the right locations? It seems to me that's a lot to ask from natural processes. It's not impossible, I suppose, but it does seem pretty unlikely. We'll wrap up our visit to 712 with this strange piece I found further along on the same hillside. It's sticking out of the sand inside the red target. Take a look for yourself. I mean, this thing is segmented into 4 pieces by 3 cuts that look like they were made with a razor-sharp cutting tool. And those cuts are all the same width, the same depth, and have what appear to be perfectly straight walls and sharp 90-degree corners at the top. But take a look at whatever that is sticking out of the front. What is it? Why is it shaped that way? And what exactly is it supposed to do? Going down the right side, you can see all these strange little pieces sticking out, almost mechanical in nature. Whatever this is part of, I'd sure like to take a look at the rest of it. Well, our buddy Laszlo is at it again, and this time he's found what might be a boat. You can even see the boat shape way off there inside the yellow target. So what do we have here? It does look like a boat with a couple of seats in it. We know that Mars was an ocean planet back in the day, and we also know that we've discovered quite a few anomalies that seem to be intended for marine use. We found other boats, anchors, dock cleats, capstans, and other stuff that's pretty hard to ignore. We are in an area where the local geology has created similar forms, so the possibility certainly exists that this is natural erosion. But dang, it do look like a boat, don't it? This next one kind of tips the weirdness scale, which is, I'm just saying, a lot for this channel. It doesn't look like much here in the context view, so let's get a little closer. That ring is the first thing that caught my eye. Growing up, the only time I saw big, beefy rings like that was when something was meant to be hoisted. I imagine there's a technical term for it, but I just call it a hoisting ring. And you find them on motors and especially on heavy industrial equipment. But what are those wire-like forms reflecting the light in front? Are those some kind of controls, and why do they have that coloring? Besides all the flat planes and right angles, take a look at the square plate on the ground, just off to the right side. It seems to have a large knob or maybe even a rivet on one corner. And those 2 blocks in front sure don't look natural to my eye, but then again, nothing much does anymore. Before we leave the Naukluft Plateau, there's another piece of weirdness we need to look at. I call it wheelie, because that's what caught my eye in the context view. You can see the curved object inside the yellow target. You really can, can't you? So, what are we supposed to make of this? It almost looks like a ghost compared to all the dark geology all around it. In fact, it really looks like it doesn't belong here at all. I'm tempted to think this might be made of aluminum or some other non-corrosive metal that retains a large measure of its reflectivity. So, is it a ducted fan, its housing all twisted and mangled? That curve sure makes it hard to imagine this to be a bit of erosion magic. And talk about a boat. Up there in the left corner we've got another boat-like object, complete with a lumbar support seat in back, a brace, and it even has a curved prow in front. Bear in mind that this could all be erosion, but it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Every now and then we get a grouping of anomalies, kind of a 2-for-1, or in this case, a 3-for-1 deal. If your eyes are sharp enough, you should be able to see 3 cubes inside the red target. I know there are a bunch of other anomalies in this picture. I see them too, but let's focus our attention on the 3 cubes, starting with the one in front. Are you kidding me? Look at those 2 little arms coming out the front. There's just not enough detail to see what all the other bumps and lines are on this one, but it sure does give the impression of being mechanical, doesn't it? The next one, up at the 11 o'clock position, gives the impression of being a building block that's badly eroded and tumbled and chipped and broken, but it still retains its basic cube shape. But let's move over to the 3rd cube on the left. It also looks to be covered with knobs and other strange little things sticking out. And I have to say, this one looks mechanical to my eyes, just like that first one. I'm not saying these are mechanical remains, but at least 2 of them do give the impression of being more than just rocks, don't they? Even a vast plain like this one will sometimes have random pieces scattered about that can be pretty interesting. This one's invisible at distance, so let's move in. Okay, that sure looks like a face, doesn't it? Or is it just pareidolia, the I see Pee Wee Herman in the clouds kind of thing? I know there's at least one well-known anomalist who will immediately add this one to his collection of statues and faces, and he's welcome to do so with my blessing. It looks like our friend is wearing goggles and has some kind of hairpiece. Personally, I think it's just light and shadow, and if I could find another photo of this one taken at a different time of day, it'd probably turn out to be just a rock. Then again, you never know. Well, it's time now to return to the normal world, if you live in one. By now, you know we have Patreon and PayPal links to keep this channel ad-free and to help with our research. My sincere gratitude goes out to our patrons and contributors for their generous help. Meanwhile, if you saw something you liked, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. It helps me to know to continue this work, and while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and the bell. Stop by Tuesday night for our live hang, and until then, this is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D. Be well.